We ended up with, I think it was a drum orchestra of 1,200 people, and then about another 100 dancers and a 20-piece brass section, and 8,000 people watching in Castlefield Events Arena. You start the samba by playing something that everybody plays back to you as a call and response. So I play dunk 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 boom 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 boom. Now when you have 1,200 people playing that all together,
that's quite impressive.
Instantly, the crowd just went whoa.
Yeah.
We live in challenging times in which we are less active than ever before, in which obesity rates are soaring and the medical system is struggling to cope. Here at ORFI Active, we are on a mission to get more people more active more often. But we can't do this alone, so we're speaking with numerous impactful and inspirational people within the sports, health and fitness industry, and together they'll help us understand the significance of a healthy lifestyle and how it can change our lives for the better. This is Orfi Hangouts.
Now, but so one of the kind of key reasons why I actually wanted to have you both on is because obviously we wanted to talk about Samba. I think people are not educated as enough about it as they should be. Just speaking from my personal experience, like for me, it was, it's just some people dancing. I don't even know what the dance is and how it looks like and stuff like that. And then after speaking with you, Tony, I realized that, right, it has so many different angles to it, right, as well. So first of all, for anybody that, is viewing this and, hasn't seen you, haven't heard of you, could you just sort of give a bit of insight of your background and how kind of you see Samba?
Shall I go first?
Yeah. Makes sense. If it's Samba school.
For Samba, fundamentally, underneath most forms of Brazilian music, you have this daxica, 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 daxica. See, instantly your mouth starts moving, right? And you have... Now, what Danny was doing there was imitating one of the national instruments of Brazil, which is called a cuica, and it's a friction drum.
So Samba, basically what you're saying, sort of the one of the key things of Samba is the actual music rather than dance, right?
No, because Samba is actually more of a way of life. It's a philosophy, a way of going about life. It came out of the communities that they have in various different parts. First of all, Samba was referred to just what the blacks did, the dances they did, the festivals at which they danced, and in between. And it then became a particular, what we were just doing there. That's a Samba. Well, it's the underlying basis of a samba, but they also have other rhythms, maracatu, afoxé. And there's various other different things. There's a thing called capoeira, and they play something slightly different in capoeira. Yeah. Yeah. And that's like a martial arts disguised as a dance, if you like. And it was literally disguised as a dance because it was kind of what the lower orders did, if you like. And it's only when they had a war with, I think it was Paraguay, and they had a whole regiment of capoeiristas, because it can be a martial art, and they beat Paraguay using these capoeira.
Is capoeira in any way connected to Samba?
That he was playing he's going. And there's moves that go with that, and that's got a name, Salbenchi Grandi.
The main groove you hear in capoeira is basically you hear that clap, or it's sometimes they do two claps, but it's that's the main groove. This mix, all that's just mixing was faster, but basically capoeira came out of slavery, African slaves.
Like Samba came out of slavery.
Yeah.
So all the people that built Rio came south, I think not that long ago, actually, at the beginning of the 20th century. And they brought with them the traditions of what they used to do there's a religion called Candomblé. There's three. There's Macumba, Candomblé, and I can't remember the other one. It doesn't matter. But those two are quite important. And there's drumming that occurs for each of the orishas. It's like the Catholic religion has God, the priesthood, the laity, and in between the laity, that is all the people, there are all these saints. Yeah. The saints are somewhere between the priesthood and God, really. And in Capoeira, you have something similar where you have Olodumare, which is Almighty God, very distant, and then you have all these other principles, really, like Shango is associated with Wednesday and justice and metals and certain foods. And you play a rhythm, and when people get taken over by the rhythm, if you like, they become that god. The gods ride them. Yeah. It's the same religion as voodoo, and it's called Orisha voodoo, ancestor worship. Mm-hmm. But it became syncretized because they couldn't be seen to be doing something that was so African. So they said, "Oh, I'm not worshipping Shango. I'm worshipping." I can't remember which one it is. I think it might be St. Peter or something like that. Yeah. I'm worshipping that particular saint, and then the lie became a truth, if you like. So when they came south, they had all these religious rhythms they used to do, but some of them they liked. So they would then play them outside of the teher or the temple, if you like. And then in the 1920s, I think it was, the very first Samba school, which was called Let Them Speak. The black people weren't allowed to take part in carnival. Carnival was quite different then. It was like...
Was the first school in Brazil?
The first school in Brazil was called Let Them Talk, Deja Falar. And they paraded peacefully in the street, and they dressed up, and they played music. But then it grew and grew, and it grew centered around different communities. And usually the Samba schools have a name that's to do with the community. For instance, one of my favorites called Mangueira, which means swamp, I think, or something like that. Right. And that's, I can't remember the name of the area that it comes from, but they have a particular way of playing where with Samba, you usually have, and that's the big drums, the surdos. And then you have you have things going. So you've got something going, as well as the. So that's making your feet move, or making dancers move, and then you'll have a variety of other instruments like the cuica, as well as something, my favorite instrument, the agogo bell, kinky gong gong gong, kinch gong gong, or as we play it's gong 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 king king gong king king gong gong king king 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 gong king king.
It makes you want to move immediately. Like you can't really get away from it.
I did this project for 4 years between 1996 and the year 2000, because the person who's now the director of Home came to me and he said, "Can you get together 2,000 drummers for the year 2000?" And I said, "Yeah, easy, but why don't you make it 5,000? Because then you're guaranteed to get 2,000." Right. So, and it's fairly easy because at that time we had like about 200 people, so we don't have now. We need more people. We had about 200 people turning up. And so the idea was just to invite people from all over the country and try and double the numbers each year. And we ended up with, I think it was a drum orchestra of 1,200 people, and then about another 100 dancers and a 20-piece brass section, and 8,000 people watching in Castlefield Events Arena. You start the Samba by playing something that everybody plays back to you as a call and response. So I play dunk 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 boom 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 boom. Now when you have 1,200 people playing that all together,
that's quite impressive.
The crowd just went whoa.
So let me sort of bring it back just a bit, because I really am curious to understand and know actually how you got into Samba. What really attracted you to get to this particular, music genre, dance, whatever you want to call it, culture. from the get-go, and I imagine you both had different paths to get here. So I'd really be curious to know that.
Okay. When I was a very small child, I was a very annoying, but although my mother didn't think so. My mum and dad were into jitterbugging. And so my mum knew
Good
the
dance.
name. Yeah.
That's a dance. Jitterbugging.
Jitterbugging is a dance.
Dance.
It's a dance
It's
where
all dance.
it's where the man usually throws the woman over his back.
Think of rock and roll.
Right.
Yes.
Yes.
Rock and roll
Yeah.
dance.
It's quite a yeah.
Yeah, in the 50s, I think.
It was very wild, yeah.
very
You
wild.
have to be very light and just throw the women like this, you know. Oh. Okay. How many somersaults can you do? Okay.
But they had this program on the radio where they played a variety of different popular music from all over the world, and every time there was something that came out of Brazil, I'd say, "What's this? What's this?" And my mum would go, "It's a samba." Or
And how old
it's a
you were at that time?
4 or 5.
That's very early to
I was a
for
weird
that
kid.
statement.
I was a weird kid. Anyway, I decided that what I wanted to do was to learn how to write sambas. Now, I was quite ignorant. I didn't
At
know
what
that.
age?
I was about 5.
Okay. Right, Sam was at 5.
I didn't actually write any sambas. No, to be fair, I didn't
Wanted
write.
to write
I
sambas at
didn't
5.
write sambas until I was about 10 or 11. Yeah, but
Wow, still young.
well, there was always this argument between my mum and dad whether it's going to be a piano they bought or an organ, and eventually my dad died, so I got a piano. And as soon as I got a piano, that was the first thing I wanted to do, was to learn how to play the piano and to learn how to write sambas. So I did. And cutting a long bit of this story out, came to Manchester to do a degree at Manchester Poly, as it was, and I first of all ended up with a group of friends who were local to here, called the Jazz Defectors, and they saw me playing the piano, and I wrote a few numbers for them. But I was still absolutely fascinated by Brazilian music. And I was beginning to find out there were other forms, other rhythms that came out of Brazil that were equally attractive, because all of them had that in the background, and it wasn't just that. It was just something about the way Brazilians, they have a discipline to their music, but they have a looseness to it at the same time. They will listen to drum and bass or reggae or classical music and incorporate it into their music. They'll do it in their own style and produce something new that's really attractive. And so when I had the opportunity to join another band where I could learn a lot more about Brazilian music through one of the people that was in the Jazz Defectors, he rang me up one day and said, "Franco, hi Franco," and said, "Hey, you know that band I want to form? This is it." And it wasn't actually his band, but it was. Yeah. He knew them very well. And I walked into this room, and there was about 17 people in there, all playing percussion. I didn't even know that they played percussion in Brazil. Right. That's how ignorant I was. But I walked over to a keyboard and started playing one of the sambas I'd written.
And this is at university.
This is while I was at a university.
It
wasn't actually anything to do with the university.
Right.
I'd spent more time in bands when I was at university than I did actually doing.
What did you actually study at university?
Nothing to do with music, sociology and politics.
How often does that happen, actually?
Different directions going at the same time.
And so like once I was with that band, none of us really knew that much about Brazilian music, but we were all eager to learn. So everywhere, and we went all over the British Isles, and then eventually to other places. Went to Texas. In a sense, he was in it for longer than I was, actually, because I left and he carried on touring with them. Yeah, he went through at least two different iterations, if you like, because there was a whole load. Me and the other songwriters upped and left because we'd had enough. 8.5 years was long enough. I wanted to live somewhere rather than in a van. Yeah. But Danny ended up going to all the really choice places like Tajikistan.
A lot of the Middle East places. I went on tour. Yeah, because I've always been to dance first, but samba it's just got something about it as well, which is very drawing musically to dance to. Everything's about it. Is to me, it's like wow, just got to dance to that.
And anybody can do it as well.
Yeah, it's definitely a community type music, and it's
so you started off as a as not as a samba dancer, or
No,
was that the first?
I just started off as a normal guy who thought I just know from a young kid I just used to just do crazy things like dance to music on TV or whatever, you know, about the kid, not thinking much of it, because at school, the school I went to, they have things like dance, like, you know, that's a girly thing or something. If you start doing stuff, you know, very much like that. So I had to deal with, in my head, I was thinking I'm going to end up doing 9 to 5 job, getting married and all that stuff. That's my aim, because I don't know what I'm going to be, don't know who I am, but all the time dance is always speaking to me inside. So when I went to nightclubs, that's when I sort of woke up to myself and realized what I could start doing with myself. So I started doing more things, realizing that I was developing as well, not just. So I went to study a little bit at college, but not for long, because I was too crazy to find out all different styles of music. I couldn't sit still sit in one place. But by going to different places, I met different people. Realized that the experiences of those different experiences allowed me to sort of explore different ways of expressing myself. I started dancing with a lot of bands as well as just the club scene and a bit of TV, but I'm going to go about that. But meeting Tony, I saw Tony, I think I saw Tony, was it Hacienda before that?
It was before that, it was at Berlin's.
Berlin's, I thought so, yeah.
Which is now a club again.
Yeah, I used to go to a lot of jazz clubs, dancing jazz. And
so was I, actually. That was the other thing. I mean, we were both kind of hanging around the jazz scene, both playing and you know, as well as being in the audience. And it was in those days, it was a tremendous scene. I don't know how people would get a band together now, because there were places you could go to the College of Adult Education, and you'd meet other musicians, or you'd go to a club and get into a conversation, and then end up in a rehearsal room, or there were enough small venues that you could see a small jazz band, and the whole scene was like quite buzzing. It wasn't just the pop scene in Manchester. There was lots of other scenes as well. And now,
and how did you then come together? Because samba, what creates samba is the music and the dance.
Absolutely,
that's what I'm trying to get to, in a sense, because there's a place called Hacienda. I just shared something about that. There's some BBC put some old film about it, so I just shared it on Facebook.
Did it show us in our call?
Right? Did it show us no. It's before it showed how it opened and why they built it and the details of why they made it the way it was. A very interesting video, and but that place was all about house music mainly in the end. But I met Tony at Berlin, but I was just dancing there. We didn't know each other that well then. And by the time I started going to the Hacienda, there's friends we both knew, like Mike and a few others, and Sue and all them, and we saw like linked up that way. But I didn't know he was dancing with it, in a sense, at the time. That's the main band, until somehow we got connected with that.
I wasn't dancing with, in a sense, being I can't dance.
I used to just busk. Well, they used to go out busking outside Matt Spencer. I used to just busk with them for fun. And Tony was one of the guys who was playing with them at the time.
I wasn't really
a full member. You know.
How long ago was this?
Oh, going way back, 95, 94.
94. That would have been 93.
I can't
because the Samba School started in 95, March 1995. And so this would be before that. It was possibly even late
earlier.
80s.
Probably earlier.
But then after I left, in a sense, that was in 93, I think. I decided that I really missed playing samba and having the chance to go out and perform things that I'd written. And so I had when I left, the guy who started, in a sense, he'd gone off to Cornwall. He's still there now, actually. And Colin, yeah. He made a good life for himself there. But he handed over the class that he was running at Banter on the Wall to me. And I said to the people who were in this class, I'd really like to form a samba school. What's that? It's usually where a community in a particular city in Brazil get together and play the rhythms that come from that area. They have different names. I mean, you have maracatus in Salvador in the north. You have afoxés, again coming from the same place. You have a rhythm called Bumba Me Boy, which is a whole troop of people, and they have a music that's associated with that. It has 3 different flavors of Bumba Me Boy. But I really wanted to explore more Brazilian music. It was still there, that, like as Danny was putting it, that obsession, it was drawing me to it, if you like. And I liked the idea of ordinary people being able to express themselves using this kind.
And you felt that in basically 95 in Manchester, that was really lacking.
Yes, definitely. I don't think I really thought about it, the implications of starting up something like that in Manchester. I just thought I really want to do it. And we've done loads and loads and loads and loads of workshops all over the place in schools, for corporate clients, for parties, different people, different clients. And I always noticed that it was something that was very inclusive. Most people can do it. They can find, because if you haven't got that much, even if you haven't got that much dexterity, you can see. This is the national instrument, so it's a little bit more tricky. But mostly, you just put on a drum and you hit it. I say hit it then in response to that one. Ding boom, ding boom, ding boom, ding boom, ding boom, ding. And it's the same with Danny. Somebody will play, and Danny will say, "Right, take this step." And they copy him, and in no time at all, they're actually doing the dance, which I still can't do.
So is it quite hard in terms of the dance itself? Is it quite hard to, say, for a beginner, somebody just came in, to actually pick it up and be in line with the music and the beat?
It depends how you approach it, what you're looking at. If you're looking at the dance side, for instance, if you're looking at maybe the popular samba step that people see people do, it's not something you pick up overnight. It's something you have to practice and learn. Unless you're already natural or you're a dancer, you can pick up steps quickly. But if in other modes, it can be more simplified. If you're doing parades, for instance, you don't have to always be doing like the samba step, but it can be more about the costume.
He's saying this, but I don't think I've ever seen anybody walk in the door, because people usually, when they walk in, they know which one they want to do, whether they want to do dancing or do drumming. And I've never seen anybody who came who said, "I want to do dancing," who didn't learn how to samba. Daddy didn't manage to teach them. They do have to go away and practice. And these days you've got YouTube as well. But I think there's something about the way that you break it down that everybody gets it.
Yeah, well, and it's a fun step as well, because I think if you're into the dance, you can enjoy it, and so you have to be repetitive with it. Obviously, if you're going to get to a certain speed, then that depends on the level you want to go. In other words, if the music goes faster, you're trying to keep up with that, then it's about the ability to keep the speed up. Some people will find that tricky at first, But when it comes to dealing with the dance on its own, like individual techniques, that can take time. But like I said, the simplified movements, you can really simplify, which is good about Samba. It allows people just to wave their hands and feel good, like en masse. But there again, if you're looking at dance more individualized, it's inclusive, that anyone can learn it into a certain point, and then it goes to another level. You sort of look at how far you go with it, with the costume, with the heels or not, with this sort of stuff as well.
If you look at they have annually, it's coming up pretty soon actually, in the run up to Shrove Tuesday and Ash Wednesday, they have the carnival in Brazil, different parts of Brazil. The one that everybody knows is in Rio and Sao Paulo. And each of those troops is 3,000 people. So you might have, they have blocks of dancers, alas, wings of dancers. So in those wings of dancers, they might have 5 or 6 who can really do it, and they have all this plastic surgery and they have a fantastic costume and big wings on their back. And you'll have these days now with Rio schools a master of ceremonies and a Mr. Sala and Portaband and a flag carrier. The flag carrier is female, and the master of ceremonies male, and he dances this protective dance around the flag carrier, and they'll have a principal master of ceremonies and flag carrier, and they're always the best people who can do the intricate steps. But in the big wings of dancers, you might have a whole lot of gringos, but they've been given the costume. And the combination of they have usually 2 allegorical cars, and then they'll have one lot of they'll have a front commission who are there to get the judges' attention, and then they'll have pretty soon the master of ceremonies and the flag carrier to impress them with how well they can samba, and then they'll have another block of dancers in costume. Some of them will be just waving their arms in the air. They usually have a practice so they can do the step at least, and everybody knows the song. They're all singing as a protesting down the samba.
Yeah, in Brazil, everything's done en masse with a big carnival. You talk about Rio, there's lots of all around Brazil. There's different types of carnivals with different styles of music. With different styles of samba music or different styles of Afro-Brazilian music.
Yeah.
You call it that way.
You've got samba reggae in the north.
Yeah.
Dance-wise, you may see people just, because Tony focuses on not just the southern style with the Rio style And so it opens up to like this, names like Maracatu, Ijisha, and things like that. It's different styles, more Afro-Brazilian. So it induces different styles of movement, and sometimes like a fauché, the movements are more gentle and much more easier to understand in sense of learning, But with Samba, it's very fast, so you have to be actually.
So that's interesting because Samba, as you say, is quite fast, and it is, once you get the fundamental, like, it depends how far you take it. But I see that Samba overall is very much about the grand performance, kind of getting ready for that. But at the same time, what we've seen as people that want to use dance to actually just get fit, have fun, be part of a community and stuff like that. So within the Samba community, how much of it is, we want to really go out there and perform for the audience, and how much of it is just like, I just want to have some fun? And
it's all of those at the same time. So you do have once a year this at carnival time, this performance by a Samba school or a Maracatu or a whole band, and the crowd dances. They in the north, for instance, they have this thing called the cockerel of the morning. Cockerel of the dawn, Gallo de Madrugada. This is this kind of 20-meter high cockerel that's paraded through down to the docks in Recife. And lots of different Samba traditions. They have one in Bumbume Boy. They have a red team and a blue team, familiar, if you live in Manchester, and they're both interpreting this story about. I should know this, but I don't. It's roughly the farmer's daughter falls in love with this peasant, and the peasant, in order for him to be able to win her hand, he has to slaughter a bull, and then the bull comes back to life.
There's the whole story
like a mumless play attached to it. But it goes in a set order, and it has dances associated with it, and particular rhythms that are associated with it as well. So going back to the fitness thing, in order to be able, like for instance, when you do that, when you perform, you have to have the stamina to be able to keep going. It's not really energetic, but
you talk about drummers as well here.
Drummers as well, because dancing is definitely have to be fit.
Yeah, so it's still confusing what it means.
Right, so you're saying that the drumming requires quite a lot of fitness, but obviously Samba is another
as well as being fit. And I think it's the same for the dance. You have to have mental alertness to know where to put your body, as well as just doing it is going to make you fit. So both of them enable you to live better. That's what I meant about that's one of the aspects of which, when I'm saying it's like a way of life. It also induces this kind of attitude towards life where you can take life's ups and downs better, I think. It's kind of a whole way of being more flexible, if you like, and it's a great way of meeting new people.
Yeah, because I think when the dance is concerned, the dance itself is like a fitness anyway. Fitness is become more popular these days, and it came out. A lot of them are using dance as a way of getting fit, but it's upside down. But they're focused on particular movements that really push the body to be what you call exercised. So aerobics and all these different names, Zumba and whatever you'll find that a lot of the dance moves they use are taken from South America or Brazilian dance, etc. But in the end, if you just dance and not think fitness, you're still exercising. It's just that you don't know that you're doing that. I'm doing a class of doing that at the moment. But it's about what sort of fitness you're getting out. That's more scientific when you start looking at people individually, what they're getting out of it, and how long for, and all this sort of stuff. Because you can always have it more days than one. But for me, because it's a Samba school, we look at the dance side as a dance and the performance as well. We're trying to sort of like look at it as that they're not just going to learn the dance and that's it, and they know it and they can go home. It's going to learn the dance and then think about how, when they dance, how that's going to look with what they wear. So even though I've got that, I have to take this into my mind as well, not just think of it.
So you think about, so actually that's the third area of it, isn't it? Is the costumes and the performance. So you have to, when you teach Samba dancing, you have to think about how will that affect the
you have to think about lots of different things, but where we're going to be in the road as we're going down the road. So he has to think about how much space have they got to dance. We actually talked about this because it's like, for instance, there's one parade that we do, the biggest Samba parade in the UK, Brasilica, and the routes the width of the road kind of does this throughout the route.
Varies.
Varies a great deal. I mean, there's great things about it. When it's narrow, it really echoes and it sounds great, but you haven't got a great deal of room to actually walk down the road and or to dance in the middle of the street.
How important to the whole kind of, I guess, Samba culture and say, the school, how important is the costume part?
Yeah, it plays a big role. I mean, it comes with, sometimes there's a lot of disagreements with it because of the way, as you know, every year, there's never, because of the way we run it in the Samba school.
We make our own costumes, by the way, and we decide. So there's always this point where we're deciding what costume we're going to make, and that's what Danny's referring to. Because there's an idea that you have before you make something, and then there's an idea after you've made something.
But in the end, it works out. Because we're looking at different costumes each year, rather than wearing the same costume that you do every year, then you know what you got each year. Like some groups do, they have only one costume. That's it.
Our colours remain the same, and we might use an element of a previous costume, but mostly we'll make it look like a different costume because we're telling a different story each year.
Yes, it's a different theme they look at. So Tony says, this is a theme, and then the dancers then come up with ideas of what they want to wear instead of style, but it's a give and take and the design and all that sort of stuff. But it gets there eventually. But it's interesting to see what comes out of it because each year, if you look back in time, you start seeing how the Samba school has dressed each time, and it makes it interesting to look back.
Years,
but the costumes itself, sometimes that can inflict on how the movements work in the dance performance. So it's only slightly sometimes. If you're doing like moves that go over the head like this, Samba reggae style, and they've got big headdress on, then that has to be, say no. Because like a lot of dancers change for each dance if they're going to do different styles. And when you're in a parade, we can't really get time to do that. So.
It's the same with the drumming. Like one year we in 2010 we had these fantastic looking costumes, and it was because we had a big phoenix that has I think it was like a 8 or 10 meter wingspan.
I have seen that in the Manchester Day festival. I don't remember which year was it, but that was truly impressive. But I think there was some problems with the trees and because it kept.
That was a bit of a problem. We have these two people with they're like our logo, a bit of our logo on the front, and then a big pole, and we use those to get the trees out of the way. And we still use that puppet, but what the drummers were wearing, for instance, was it had a cape that was attached to the back of this donut shaped thing that went over your shoulders, and the cape itself was very, very light material. So as you're playing, this cape is trying to wrap itself around your stick and stuff. So we never had that again, and you just kind of learn over time.
There's just so many things you need to think about that you wouldn't initially.
Like Danny was talking about how it affects the move. So now last year we made these headdresses for the dancers. Where they had, and it rains in Manchester, so we wanted
that
to
it does.
So we wanted to have something that if it didn't have feathers don't and rain, no, not good. If it was raining, we could take the feathers off, and the headdress would still look good, and they could do all those moves because it wasn't, the headdress isn't actually sticking up too far, but it still looks quite impressive. But if it's sunny, they've got these feathers, and again they don't go up too high, so that again it doesn't restrict their movements too much. And generally, because people don't want to look at a whole load of sweaty drummers, they're more interested in the dancers.
But they do listen, isn't it? Because that's the beauty of Samba. I think it's just how well those two go together. And as you said, I think that's really a thing that's overlooked, and I did overlook that as well. That drumming also can be seen as a fitness activity, as somebody, as an exercise, because it does. I've seen those drums. They're not like a tambourine. They're actually big drums, and actually they take quite a bit of energy to do. And my question, I guess, would be as well then, when you see people joining your school, what have you seen being the main reason for people joining?
Ooh. That's a really difficult question because probably as many people over the we've been going for 25 years in March this year, and when we've been going for I think about no more than about 6 months, he and I sat down to try and work out what we could do better. Why were people coming? What could we do better? And it took about a minute and a half for us both to look at each other and go, that way madness lies. Why are they coming? I have no idea. We had 200 people, and sometimes not always the same 200 people turning up every Wednesday. We don't have that now. And there's a whole variety of reasons. Some people come because they want to meet new people. Some people come because they have an idea of what samba is, but because all these rhythms are, Danny was saying that you can find elements of samba dance in Zumba and various other different dances, and you find elements of Brazilian music, Brazilian rhythms in lots of other popular music as well, like for instance in disco, that you'll hear in the background this sound that goes ding ding dong 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 ding 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 dong 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 ding ding. That's an agogo bell, and it's actually an ancient Brazilian rhythm. But people have used it all over the place,
But it does look like when you kind of look at you guys perform, whether it's on the streets, on YouTube, whatever it may be. You portray this energy. You portray that it's always very positive. It's very energetic and just fun. And I think, at least from my perspective, that what really attracts me to at least try it out.
That's something that we haven't really mentioned, which is that it's like a transfer of energy, if you like. You've got the dancers making sense of the music, and the combination of what the visual of the dancers dancing to the music, the audience seeing it. And so it's all going that way, but it's also going the other way, where the audience is energized by what they're seeing and hearing, and that makes us play better and makes the dancers dance better. So you've got two different. How can I do this? Directions.
Rewind forward. yeah. It's the idea, I think, for the dance side is automatic positivity to what you smile, and hopefully people will smile. Everything's bright, and all this side of it is samba is built that way. Got a lot to do with the slavery, to trying to celebrate a way of actually celebrating their carnival.
Get away from the trials and tribulations
exactly,
of that lifestyle.
So every year, that's why in March, the Brazil, everybody gets involved in making costumes. Who's involved in that
parade,
side.
very often people will come and they'll dance in the middle of the dancers, or in the middle of the batteria, actually, just for a little bit, so we have to say, actually, do you think you could just dance over there?
And I think that's a really good point, because in today's world, you're sitting in the office all day, you've got all these stressful things coming at you, everything like that. And I feel like when you have such a creative outlet as samba, I think it really disconnects you from everything else, doesn't it?
That's I think that's a lot. That could be a lot of reasons why a lot of people come down. Not for everyone, but because for them it's like a way of chilling out for a bit and just having good fun, and also learning, and sort of like
it's still demanding, but in a different way, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And so obviously everyone have their own personal reasons why they like going to a samba school. Either to play or dance, and so it's
because people come from such a wide variety of different occupations.
It's not so. It's quite a weird question to ask them personally. So we never ask them why have you come. So what made you want to do samba? So it's like an interview for them. So they don't usually get that. They just come in, hopefully come in to enjoy themselves, really.
So how have you seen, especially in this country, samba change throughout all these years? Because I imagine, originating in Brazil, you kind of taking this on board in hand, trying to kind of really raise awareness of it throughout 25 plus years. I imagine the landscape changed quite a bit. What was kind of the biggest changes have you noticed?
I think when I started the samba school, there were some people who we call them samba purists, who just wanted to do a particular style of samba from a particular samba school that came out of Brazil. There still are people, and we all respect and look to the origins of where it all comes from. But around the world, there's a lot more mixing of samba with other rhythms now. But having said that, the inspiration, you've got to go back to the source constantly, because that way you keep the energy going, if you like. So in some ways it's changed, because the style of a samba school, for instance, in the drumming, will come from the way that people adapt what they're learning to suit their own physicality, if you like, and then you get the style of a samba school. And the look of the samba school is to do with the designers that work with it. But I know that I've seen changes in technique of how things are played, for instance. But the fundamental underlying groove is still the same. You know, otherwise you couldn't call it samba. There was a point, for instance, in the 1970s, I think it was, and early 80s, when there's a tendency for all the samba schools to play faster and faster and faster and faster, till it got to the point where there's a rhythm called marsha, which we have the clues in the name. It's like a march, martial music, and about 150 beats per minute. And it was just too fast to dance to, so it all slowed down a little bit, not that much, down to about 120, 130.
Just manageable,
yeah. But manageable, yeah. Because people got to be able to dance to
Yeah,
it. You know, so.
yeah. I mean, how I see the slow moving forward in England, only you talk about at the moment. What, from my experience, is to do with the influence of Brazilians coming over to teach samba to samba, mainly in London, starting over there in London. That's where it started off, London School of Samba, etc. And their influence then to teach people who got into, they start their own samba schools and all this sort of stuff. People come to samba schools and have gone off in dance, have gone off doing their own thing, same with the drumming as well. And so it's expanded this way. People, sometimes people don't like the idea of someone going off doing their own thing because it's against their school. You have that politics. Some people push it like it as well. That's happened a lot. So it's constantly expanding in small ways. And some summer schools have been going to, I've just seen them grow and seen them grow in their own direction. That's the interesting thing. That it's good that the summer schools all sound the same. It's good that they have their own way.
Their individual style.
Yeah.
I mean, another lot of people that Danny works with, they're called global grooves.
Global grooves, yeah.
And they have giant puppets, and they have their own fusions that they do, and they go quite in depth into some of the roots of the music, and they run various different courses, and we work with them sometimes. One of my favourite combinations is Samba and Bhangra, and there was a group called Sambhangra that was run by a friend of mine who was in the same, in a sense as well. Another one of my favourites, and I think I might have told you about this, they don't exist sadly now anymore. They were called Boom or Bust. And this was, they left basically because it was a bloke that was running the samba school, me. And they didn't like that. so they bought their own drums, went off somewhere, and they took a cast of their bodies naked from neck to waist, cast it in like plaster of Paris, painted it bright gold, and then wore a black body stocking underneath with a bright red cape. That was just so powerful when you had a troop of 10, 15 women dressed like that coming down the street towards you. You saw everybody going, whoa! They sounded pretty good as well, actually. But they lasted a while, and then they had internal arguments, and it's all dissolved now. I was sad to see it go, actually. I really like what they did, even if it was done in protest still.
So for someone that wants to get into samba, whether it's playing or dancing, what would you say are kind of the key things that they should be aware of before they go in and try it out?
For me, first, if you're coming along to drum, invest in a good set of musicians' earplugs, because it is quite loud. And come with an open mind. It doesn't matter if you already can drum or not, because you can start from the very beginning. We have all people who are professional musicians, people who are absolute beginners, have always wanted to hit a drum and never got a chance, and all the levels of ability in between. And be prepared to actually put some time in to actually practice at home. That's always makes my life a lot easier, because if you got somebody that comes along and they learn quite quickly, and then the next time they come, they've forgotten half of it, and it doesn't come back to them like riding a bike, then that's more difficult for the person that's leading the whole thing. But there's something in the nature of the samba that as soon as it starts, it kind of guides you as to where to go. And I think it's probably similar for the dance.
Yeah, I mean, people will come to Samba school not knowing whether it's just something you just go to and then you go home and that's it. But because there's a bigger aim is sometimes for some people, hopefully, to come out and perform with us as well. But sometimes for some people that's the motivation. But some other people it's more to do with just being part of the group, sort of thing. So you have these different things. So you want as many people, because the idea for Samba is to draw people in and be community bands, and so we're not trying to sort of restrict anyone, because people in wheelchairs can do drumming as well. There's nothing wrong with that. We've had people like that as well. I think
we've had some people.
Is it Jimmy?
Yeah, Jimmy. Yeah.
And it shows it can be open to everyone without thinking. So we don't want people to think too much. It's more to do with coming and absorbing it and hopefully learning, and hopefully wanting to either play to a standard they want to perform or not perform. Because the way the Samba schools run is very much like, the options there, but it's still, if there's a feeling that, you want to be out there as well.
If you have a particularly busy life and you can only dedicate a small amount of your time, that's fine as well. We have some people, for instance, who their lives are very busy, but they still want to be part of it. They learn a little bit of the drumming, they learn a little bit of the dancing. When it comes to actually making the costumes and making the floats, they dedicate like a couple of weeks of their time and help us make the costumes. And then they haven't got the time to actually parade with it, which to me seems very frustrating, but they're happy to do that, which is great, So people have lots of different reasons. And it like Danny said, the aim is to just have a community of people who are all interested in some way in Brazilian carnival arts. Mainly where we centre it around the southern samba, as well as samba reggae and maracatu and afoxé, which come from the north. But we also do some other rhythms. We do bumbo meu boi, we do congada, these are all carnival rhythms from different parts of Brazil, if you like.
Where do you see samba kind of going next in the UK?
Me personally, I see it as being a carnival art form the same as other carnival art forms, and I kind of look for inspiration to what happens in other parts of this country as well as other countries. If you look at, because we are always telling a story when we parade, and it would be nice to make that story fuller and bigger and more not elaborate but clearer, I suppose, in some ways. So it's not just about spectacle, because you're also usually making a comment. I was telling you before about one year where the theme for Manchester Day, which is kind of like the main carnival type thing that we take part in here in Manchester, was out of this world. So I thought, well, they probably mean just the universe, and the universe is made up of 70% dark energy, 25% roughly dark matter, and only a very small amount is hadrons, the stuff you can touch and measure and stuff. And a lot of that is made out of carbon. So we made a 2.5-3 meter high carbon atom, and, and had something representing waves and told
you don't do anything small measures.
It's always complicated.
The thing is, people got it though. We were going down Deansgate, and I remember seeing this group of blokes, and they were all blokes, and it was like they weren't interested in the pretty girls dancing. They weren't interested in the drummers or the brass section playing. It's like, oh, look, there's a carbon atom.
But that really just then double downs on my point of why I love samba so much, just because how diverse it is in the way you can express yourself. Before meeting you two, before discovering the samba school, all I thought was, is you just go, it's a form of dance, and that's, you just go in there, you learn a couple of moves, and that's pretty much it. Now sort of you've opened up to me, and I hope to everybody else as well, like how much actually goes into it, because you've got obviously the costumes, you've got the music, and like all the different rhythms that go into it. Obviously, you've got the dance, the performance, the all the different, props and everything that goes into it. And I think this is something that is a really good outlet for anybody that's at least a bit creative, or even isn't. I think there's still kind of a way to express yourself in
because I think I would, if I was just teaching just the samba step itself is the main thing. As the type of dancer I am, I'm very creative, very open, and wanting to learn more or put some more. The music speaks a lot to me, and because the samba school does various type of sounds, it allows me to be more, go into that area. But I would get very bored if I was just doing one style for myself, not for somebody else. So I'd find it quite tricky to sort of like continue say, okay, here we go again, each week, I mean, so like, well, it's
Give me
great.
an example of that. I've only been to Brazil once, and when I was there, I heard this rhythm called Coco, and I really quite liked it. So I asked, I think it was three different Brazilians, who were percussionists, how do you play it? How does it go? And they gave me three different answers. and so I went away and I recorded everything. I recorded people I found playing it, as well as recording what the conversations that I had with these individual percussionists. When I came back here, I kind of distilled it all down into something that my own band could play, and I played it. And straight away, he started doing the same steps that I saw people doing to that rhythm over there. And I'm like, you've never been to Brazil. How did you do that?
It's the music again.
That's what you said. And I was like...
So I guess sort of from my perspective, it's just, I just want to say a big thank you to you guys.
Thank you.
Because of your passion, because of your dedication into actually taking Samba on board. This is purely amazing, and I think the more people realize, the beauty of Samba, and that they're actually such passionate people that really try to teach, educate, and show to people what Samba is truly about.
It's about having fun. A lot of it is about having fun.
Yeah, that's what it's about. Yeah.
So I guess for anybody out there, it's Samba schools are now pretty much everywhere. You can try it out yourself, see what sticks to you.
But we're your local one.
So in Manchester, we've got definitely School of Manchester.
Manchester School of Samba. It's the Manchester way of Samba. It's like a school of fish, if you like. It's the Manchester style of playing Samba.
And to your point, Danny, as well, I think when you try out Samba as a dance, you might even discover that leads to something else that you might install, whether it's capoeira or whatever it may be. So there's no loss to it if you just want to try it out.
Yeah, and you can take any of these rhythms and put them in a different context. So it's both. So,
Brilliant. Yeah. Thank you very much, guys, for taking the time.
So if you enjoyed this episode, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to our channel. And let us know in the comments what you liked or didn't like, and who our next guest should be. For more content like this, make sure you follow all of our social media channels. And don't forget to download the ORFI Active app to find a variety of sporting and fitness activities near you to easily find and join. We'll see you at the next ORFI Hangout.